Welcome to East Atlanta Church, where ministry is made simple by Pastor Jéan L. Ward.
We finished up our last series, but we're going to be dealing with something this morning, talking about Are You Ready? You know, one of the things that we always talk about is, and I felt that it's a time that we have to understand a time of hope, a time of understanding that God will bless you and God will give you and God will increase you. But the thing is, are we prepared for it? And we talked about being under construction for our series that we dealt with the past 4 weeks. But what we really want to now deal with is, are we ready for it? Are we ready for what happens when we receive our blessing? Are we ready to fight for it? You know, I've been listening to some things and I've been listening to people, and everybody wants to be happy about getting a blessing, amen? Everybody is anticipating something good. You just want good things to happen, don't you? But not only that, but do we want good things to happen, or do we want God things to happen? And that's the question we got to ask ourselves. And in that happening is we got to prepare ourselves for it. And we dealt with that. So now we're going to be dealing with, are you ready? Now, if you go with me, I promise you I won't hold you long this morning. You know, you can time me, I promise you. Turn with me to Genesis chapter 32. And we're going to pick this up with Jacob. And now we understood that this scripture that we're picking up in chapter 32, verses 22 through 30. Jacob this is the day before he gets ready to meet his brother Esau, who he stole his birthright from. Now, I don't know about you, but how many of you have ever been in a situation where you know you did something wrong and it's time, as they say, for you to face the music? Now, no one really wants to face the music, do they? You know, we know that there's something that we did wrong. I mean, I get people all the time that say, Pastor, pray for me because I got to record. Pray for me because I have this. And I'm like, but my thing is, why are you worried? Because I did it. I just want them to have what? Leniency on me. Amen? Pray for me before I take this test. Why? Because you want leniency. You want to make sure that the test goes well because of the fact that you know you may not have been properly prepared for it. Amen? When we know in our hearts we're not properly prepared, we stress out a little bit more, don't we? Or is this just me? Am I the only one? Y'all quiet up here this morning? You know? So the thing is, here it is. Jacob is that morning before, and he's anticipating what will happen. How is his brother going to react? Because you got to remember, his brother has an army of men, and he stole something from him. Can you imagine how you would feel if you stole something from someone that was theirs, and now they've grown bigger than you, and you're in need, and you're in lack, and you have to face them? How many of you would actually be looking forward to that meeting? You kind of have some reservations about it, amen? Amen? I need y'all to talk to me this morning. Y'all act like y'all all asleep, don't want to say nothing. So we pick it up and it says, the same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, and everything else that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him into the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, let me go, for the day has broken. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And he said to him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. Then he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked him, please tell me your name. But he said, why is it that you ask my name? And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, meaning the face of God, saying, for I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered. Now, I want you to get this. Now here it is, Jacob's going through this situation, and this man begins to fight him, and he begins to wrestle with him. He begins to toil. You have to understand, Jacob was already toiling with his demons, okay? The demons of his past, the things that held him back. And now he's toiling with whether or not they're going to overcome him or he's going to overcome them. See, there's a problem in our life. One thing we got to understand is, are we willing to be at war with our wants? Are we willing to be at war with our wants? Do you think Jacob really wanted to face his brother? No. But he had to, didn't he? But he didn't want to. That's not what he wanted. And in our life, we come across things, we got to figure out what is it we want versus what God's will for us is. And we wrestle against it. We wrestle against, I want the bigger house. I want the better car. I want the better job. And God is saying, but what is it I desire for you? Do I desire something greater for you? Do I desire what you don't even understand, what you can't even comprehend right now? What is it I desire? Have you taken the time out to hear me? So Jacob was basically wrestling with God to understand where he should be. And the greatest thing about what happened here is, as he wrestled with God, Jacob understood something in the fight. When you fight at war with your wants, then you have to wrestle with what you need. And what do you mean? Because the things that God has for you will not come easy. They will forever come with a price. You know, as he says, salvation is free, but ministry costs. What does that mean? That means that it's going to cost you something to serve God. Oh, Pastor, what do you mean? What is it going to cost me? It's going to cost you everything. It's going to cost you your life. It's going to cost you the things that you think you want over the things that your heart desires when your heart is focused towards God. But you have to be willing to wrestle with that and not give up. See, what happens is we get in situations and we begin to wrestle, and God is trying to make sure we're ready, and if we're going to hold on till the blessing comes, or are we going to give up? And what Jacob did is he says, one thing I won't do, you can't beat me, but I will not yield. Did you understand what I just said? He says, I will not let you beat me down that I have to yield. What will happen is you'll just get tired of beating me. So, and what does that mean? That means that are we willing to be proved? Are we tender enough? You ever tenderize meat? Remember how the old-fashioned way of tenderizing meat? You know, we didn't have meat tenderizer. We had a meat tenderizer, which is like a mallet that you would use to beat the meat. Now, it didn't destroy the meat, did it? It only made the meat tender. You could take the toughest piece of beef and tenderize it. Now, that means it has to get beat a little bit more than doesn't it? You know? And that means it's not just in one spot, it's all over. Sometimes you gotta flip it and turn it around and hit it in different areas and stretch it out, smooth it out, hit it again. And once you think it's ready, you gotta beat it some more to make sure it's just right, correct? A person that knows how to tenderize it, that's why a person that knows how to tenderize me knows how not to destroy me. Amen? And don't you think God knows how to tenderize you? He knows how to make you willing to succumb to him. And that's all he was doing with Jacob. Because he realized that Jacob had been known as a trickster. He was always known as getting over on people. Okay, you got to remember this. This is the story of Jacob. Jacob was always upright in all his ways. So God had to make sure that Jacob was prepared. And then he had to make sure that Jacob had the intestinal fortitude to keep pushing and pursuing. And was he going to endure? Because you have to understand, because what is in Jacob is what was going to come out of Jacob for the rest of eternity. What is inside of you is what's going to come out of you. So God has to make sure that the right thing is in you for you to produce the right thing. If you inside of you have hate, what will you produce? Hate. If you're inside of you have jealousy and animosity, what will you produce? Jealousy, animosity. If you have a bad attitude and you're negative about everything in life, what will you produce? But if you have a positive outlook on life, you have loving, you have giving spirit, what will you then produce? You will produce what you have inside of you. It's only natural for you to produce what you have inside of you. Think about it. A woman that does not bear any eggs cannot produce, can she? A man that does not bear any semen cannot produce, can he? A tree that does not bear any fruit can't produce, can it? Why? Because it can't produce fruit that produces what? Seeds that produce what? Growth. So therefore you cannot do what? Produce what's not inside of you. And the only way you can get out of what's inside of you is through a process. And that's what Jacob is going through. And that's what we got to go through in our life. Is we have to be ready for the process. And that process comes in many things. It comes in storms. It comes in trials and tribulations. And one of the things you have to be willing to understand is when we have to submit, when we've lost. Now here's the thing. Jacob said, I'm not going to let go of you until you bless me. And the man that he wrestled with touched his hip socket, made it come loose, and then he told him, yes, who are you? Now the reason that they asked who you are is because I want you to understand something. We're gonna go with me to Mark 4:38. Mark 4:38. We'll start with verse 37. And it says, a fierce windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking over the boat. So the boat was already being swamped, but he was in the stern, sleeping on the cushion, talking about Jesus. So they woke him up, and he said to him, Teacher, don't you care that we're going to die? He got up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Silence, be still. The wind ceased, and there was a great calm. Then he said to them, Why are you fearful? Do you still have no faith? And they were terrified and asked one another, Who then is this? Even the wind and the sea obeys him. Now, if we continue on to the next verse,
Chapter 4.
Excuse me. If we continue on to the next verse, he goes on and he said they're at the, Then they came to the other side of the sea, to the region of Mercedes, and soon as he got out of the boat, a man with unclean spirit came out of the tombs and met him. And he lived in the tombs. No one was able to restrain him anymore, even with chains, because he often had been been bound with shackles and chains, but he had snapped off the chains and smashed the shackles. No one was strong enough to subdue him. And always, night and day, he was crying out among the tombs and in the mountains and cutting himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and knelt down before him. And he cried out with a loud voice, What do you have to do with me? Jesus, the Son of Most High God, I beg you before God, don't torment me. For he had told him, Come out of the man, you unclean spirit. And then he asked him, What is your name? My name is Legion, he answered him, because we are many. And he kept begging him not to send them out of the region. Now, what was this? It was because, if you notice here, both times in both scriptures, we find there was an important question asked. And that is, what is your name? Who are you? It's customary during those times that when you have subdued and you have authority over someone, when you've beaten someone, it is customary for them to ask you the question, what is your name? See, that's why when the man, God, that was wrestling with Jacob turned around and asked him, well, what is your name? He was like, why do you ask me this? That's not your concern. You don't have dominion here. Only the person who has dominion can ask you who you are. Understand that. Only the person who has dominion over you can ask you who you are. And Jacob answered. The question that God is asking you, who are you? And are you willing to subdue yourself to find out who you are? Because once Jacob got to the point of where he answered, what happened? Jacob found out who he was is not who he was going to continue to be, was it? He told us, he says, from now on, it be called Israel. And my question to you all is, are you willing to admit who you are for God to show you whose you are, and you will know really who you are? Are you ready for that? Or are you still ready to be at peace with your wants and then war against the desires of God? You know, are you willing to be at peace with what you want in this earth and give up the blessings that God has for you? Are you willing to be in the midst of the storm? Are you willing to be like the disciples that walk with Christ and see everything that he does, and then in the moment that you need him, you think that he's going to let you down? Or are you going to be willing to have faith in him to see that he's going to deliver you? At the same time, Christ leapt and then went ahead and cast out demons out of a man that no one could even contain. Think about this. You think your situation is so bad that even in a situation that no one had control over, not even the person involved in it, but yet Christ had dominion over the situation. If Christ has dominion over the situation to tell those demons to leave, and they beg for their life, what does he have in your life? You're not running around cutting yourself. You're not yelling out in the mountains day and night. You're not running rampant and people are trying to subdue you. You're not being shackled. You're not being bound. The only thing that you're going through is some turmoil and some trials. And God is saying, I'm tenderizing you, but you have to subdue and tell me, who are you for me to define who you are? But that only comes through a time of giving God, yielding into God. You know, you have to be able to maintain your composure. And the other thing you have to be willing to do is isolate yourself. Think about this. Before Christ spoke to the storm, he was isolated. Amen? Before Jacob wrestled with God, he was isolated. Correct? When you know that blessing is getting ready to come, when you know something is about to happen, you have to get to yourself. You got to take some time out for yourself. And I literally mean isolate yourself. Send everybody away. And if you can't send everybody away, you get away. Don't run away, just get away. Amen? See, we know how to run away, don't we? We don't know how to get away. Get away means, listen, we call it sabbatical, if you want to call it that, and you want to be that way, but it's a getaway to let me get my composure with me and God. Let me remove all these things that are immediately around me. These things that can be a deterrent from hearing, because I have emotional ties and connections to that. They're tied to my wants and I'm tied to their wants. But sometimes it can cover, or it can cause me to see things unclearly of the desires of what God wants. You know, you ever had kids that you want the best for them, but you know you got to do something that they're not going to like, and it kind of disturbs your heart, like your parents say, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you? Y'all remember that saying? It didn't make any sense, did it? Because it was hurting. It was hurting pretty good, wasn't it? It hurt. I don't know. Well, if that's the case, then don't. Logically, if it's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me, then don't do it, right? I mean, it makes sense to me, right? Or matter of fact, let me do it to you, so therefore it'll hurt. Since that's so painful, let me have the punishment of doing this, whipping to you then. I mean, it makes sense to me. And that's about the kind of logic we try to make sense to God. God is saying, no, I'm only conditioning you, I'm tenderizing you, I'm preparing you, so that for you will be useful and not useless. I don't know about you, if you ever had a tough piece of meat and it's really hard to chew, you don't even take it all, do you? You just, I don't want to deal with it. That's what people will be doing, I don't want to deal with it. You want to know how you are? I always tell people, your clique should be small, shouldn't be big. But the thing is, you should have a lot of people that surround you. There's a difference between having a whole lot of associates and then some friends. David had very few friends, but he had a whole lot of associates, didn't he? So you got to have Christ had a whole lot of associates, had very few friends. Now my question is, do people want to galvanize with you and be a part of you and connect with you, or do they not? Now I'm not saying this is totally different. I'm talking about your spiritual growth here. And that says something about you. Are you useful to God? Some of you can't even get away because there's nothing to get away from, because everybody has already left you. You don't have people to get away from. then that should tell you something there. And I'm not talking about anybody. I just want you to understand where you are, because I want you to prepare for the blessings. I want you to get what God has for you. And what God has for you right now is so much more than I can tell you or you could even ascertain. But that can only happen if you're willing to give your life to Him. That means if you're willing to give up. You cannot beat God. You can only allow God to prove you. So my question is, do you want the blessing? But remember, life comes after the resurrection. And the resurrection can only come after the crucifixion. So are you willing to die for what God has for you? And if you're willing to do that, then you're willing to give your life to Christ. And God is saying He's willing to bless you. Amen? Amen. Let's stand.